Welcome again to the Onboard Week studio. We will broadcast interesting insights from our speakers, inspirational talks and discussions every day at 10 a.m. Central European Time. This week from Monday to Friday. My name is Friel van Hoof and I am the moderator of the Onboard Week 2020. Now, the Onboard Week is an initiative of Apical, the company that provides a digital onboarding solution. And our goal with this event is to share knowledge on onboarding and to help you to create the most memorable onboarding experience. Now, in the networking sessions at the end of each day, apart from meeting the speakers, you will be also able to learn more about Apical's product, or you just plan in a personal meeting with our onboarding experts, and you can do that through the link in the chat. Now, this program has been made possible by our partners, Yes We Connect, Great Place to Work, HR Office, Validator Smart Recruiters, and Visma. So as for today, our speakers will explore the connection between your company culture and onboarding, and we will hear about transferring your company culture into the new hires, as well as taking into account your employees' diversity and making them feel included in your company. So, I want to welcome our speakers here at the table. Jan Arnoud de Ruiter from Rabobank and the HelloFresh team. Hedwig Schaap and Artjan Schinkelshoek.
Correct.
Yeah, I'm struggling a little bit with the name, sorry for that. Good morning, all of you.
Good morning.
I feel it's going to be a good session this morning. What do you think?
I feel the same.
Yeah,
Definitely.
me
It
too.
already started great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I start with you, Jan
dear.
Arnoud. Do you like to travel? And what culture did you find the most interesting?
Wow, yeah. I like to go on holidays with my family. My wife and 2 daughters. And yeah, last year we went to Vietnam. And years before we went to Malaysia. And I love that country.
Yeah.
I love Malaysia. It's the food and it's the people.
Yeah.
They are so helpful and so friendly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been there as well. I totally agree, and especially the food.
Yeah.
Maybe because I'm also Asian, but I just like food in general.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think it's also part of the culture, the whole experience of food, and that you are really connected. And I don't want to generalize, but in a lot of Asian mothers, like my mother, they just cook all day long. And so not only for the family, but for the whole neighborhood. And everybody can join in.
And it smells great when they're cooking all day long.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
That's why we just love food. Great. What is your role within Rabobank?
Well, I am part of the HR learning team. And together with our team, we're responsible for a lot of learning initiatives within Rabobank. For example, we have selected 12 Rabobank skills. And we make a lot of things to develop on those skills, and I'm responsible for onboarding within Rabobank. Yeah.
Nice. And you have been working for 25 years for Rabobank.
I thought
amazing,
you did not
isn't
mention
it?
that.
Yeah, congratulations on that.
No.
That's worth an applause already, I think.
I agree.
Yeah, I think now, respect for that. What are the biggest changes that you have seen in HR at Rabobank over time?
Over time, yeah.
Yeah.
I think a lot of things changed. But few things, I think. First of all, I think HR is more supportive to the purpose of the company than lots of years ago. And we take the user-centric or the employee journey more into account. And I think the biggest change is that we more and more work fact-based and using data, so data-driven. So, yeah.
And what will you be talking about today?
I will be talking about the onboarding program within Rabobank.
Yeah.
With 2 elements in it. It's about the cooperative culture and it's about personal connections.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that later. Thank you, Arnoud, for now. I go to you both. And I would like to get to know you a little bit better on a personal level. So, Hedwig, what is your signature dish?
Oy, I love food. I love to eat and I love to cook. And at the moment, I'm really into curries. So I cook a lot of Indian curries, Thai curries. And yeah, I would say at the moment, that's my signature dish.
Yeah, okay. But you don't have a specific?
I really like a massaman curry,
Yeah,
potato, and really nice, warm flavors.
nice.
Yeah.
And I only hear foreign dishes. Is that because you traveled a lot? Because that's what I read. Eh?
Yes.
You're an adventurous girl. I like
Yes,
that.
I did. I traveled a lot. I lived abroad for 5 years.
Yeah.
In Singapore, in New Zealand, in France.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did get to explore really a lot of nice dishes, a lot of different cuisines.
Yeah,
it's
great.
amazing. Yeah.
And Artjan, what is your favorite kitchen?
Ooh, that's a hard one. I love food. I don't really like the cooking part though, but if I need to name a few, I would definitely say Vietnamese food. I really love it. I went there last year as well. The people, the food, it's amazing. Indian food and Thai food. And next to that, anything spicy. I really love spicy food.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, but
Make
you
it as
didn't...
spicy as possible.
Yeah? Oh, then you have to come with me one time to my mom because she makes really spicy sambal.
I would love that.
The spice, that will spice up your life.
Great.
For sure.
All right, that's a deal then.
Okay, when and why did you join HelloFresh and what is your roles within the company for both of you?
So I joined 2 years ago, exactly 2 years this month. And I am a recruitment and development specialist, mainly focusing on talent acquisition, onboarding, and learning and development. And I joined HelloFresh because I really liked the company culture, and it just seemed like such an appealing company to join, which happened to be true. So, I'm very happy. Yeah,
That's good.
I joined in September 2015, so 5 years ago. Last month I had my 5th year anniversary, which was great. Like Hedwig, I'm also a recruitment and development specialist, mainly focusing on talent acquisition, onboarding as well, and I'm focusing on inclusion in the workplace.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Hedwig, can you tell us what HelloFresh does?
Yeah. So we are a food company. We offer recipes that we send to everybody's doorsteps, so people can cook hassle-free. Nobody has to think about going to the supermarket anymore, deciding on what to eat. We just bring it, deliver it, and you can cook.
Yeah.
That's basically what we do.
Yeah.
It's a subscription-based model, and you can do it all online.
Yeah, I think it's really a great concept because everybody knows that you have to think about, okay, what am I going to cook tonight? And then you buy it, and then you have all the ingredients. You don't have to throw things out, and that is what I think. Also very important, you don't spill any food. So, yeah, it's I love it. Great. Artjan, when you start working at HelloFresh, do you get a free subscription? I'm curious about that.
Yeah, I understand. Well, that's a good question. You don't get a free subscription. However, we do love our employees, obviously. So your first box is free because we want you to taste the product and experience the product.
Yeah.
And then for your entire employee life cycle, you have a discounted HelloFresh box.
Oh, okay, that's also good.
I think so.
Yeah, and what did you prepare for us today? Because you're going to do it together today, the presentation.
Yeah, we are going to do it together. So we prepared, we are going to talk about culture, onboarding and inclusion at HelloFresh. And how we are continuously working on that.
Yeah, okay, thank you for now. So the topic of today is culture onboarding, and preparing this with our speakers, we found 2 relevant ways to look at this topic. And the first is how to onboard your new hires to your company's culture. And we will hear from HelloFresh and Rabobank why they find this so important and how they do this. And the second approach to the topic is the cultural differences that people bring with them. How do organizations cope with that? And should diversity and inclusion will be a touch point in onboarding programs? We would like to get your input on the diversity and inclusion theme to use in our final discussion at the table, so please fill out this poll. So let's talk a little bit about the topic. Hedwig, do you feel that new hires know the company culture when they apply for a job?
Yes, I do think people that want to apply can get to know the culture pretty well already. We have a lot of videos online. There's our LinkedIn page where there's a lot of information about what we do as an employer, and also our job vacancies contain a lot of information that give away what we do and what our culture is. But of course, we don't give away everything. And during the recruitment procedure, we really dive deeper into this.
Yeah. And what makes a company's culture strong?
That's a good question. Personally, I think it is the personal approach, taking your time and really focusing on the persons. And I think that really helps in creating a strong culture.
I'm also actually curious about Rabobank, because Rabobank exists already so long. They exist almost 100 years longer than HelloFresh. What makes your company's culture so strong?
Well, it's a difficult question, but I think the important thing is what makes a culture strong is when every individual can connect their own personal values and purpose to those of the bank.
Yeah.
And if we manage to get that connection, that makes a really great and really strong culture.
Yeah. And is there also room to bring in yourself, and what's the relevance of that?
It's really important. And we think there is a lot of room to bring yourself within Rabobank. Because if you don't, if you're not able to do that or not allowed to do that, you spend a lot of energy not being yourself.
Yeah.
And that's a pity.
Yeah.
So we take a lot of effort to help people to bring their own selves. And fortunately, over 90% of our employees say they can.
Okay, that's a good thing.
That's
a great thing, actually. Yeah. Okay, and what can happen to your company if your onboarding does not take new employees' culture into account?
Yeah. Well, that's a good question. I think mainly what happens then, the new joiner doesn't feel included in the company, doesn't feel included in the culture. And eventually that leads to not feeling included at all in the company, meaning that people might leave earlier. So it's extremely important to include your new joiners within the onboarding in your company culture.
Yeah. Okay, let's go to the presentations. And Jan Arnoud, you're going to start first, and please tell us about how you involve your new hires in a purpose-driven company. So please take the presenter stage and prepare. Now, we would like to invite you sitting at home, maybe drinking some coffee, maybe still sitting in your pajamas, to ask any question you have while watching the presentation, and you can write them in the Q&A part in the chat. So stay tuned till the end of the session, where the questions will be answered by our speakers. Good luck, Jan Arnoud.
Hello, everyone. And thanks for giving me the opportunity to tell something about Rabobank and the onboarding at Rabobank. And as Cyril already told us, Rabobank is a purpose-driven company. And I guess you all know Rabobank perhaps because of the LIBOR affair, or because of the penalties we got for not being able to prevent our clients from money laundering. And at the same time, Rabobank has its mission, growing a better world together. We're one of the biggest investors in sustainable housing in the Netherlands. We invest a lot of time and money and energy in reducing food waste all over the world. And we're connecting in the local communities. Perhaps you already voted for your own sports club or a music club via the club support in the Rabobank app. So, which Rabobank is the real one? The one that's stuck on fraud and having trouble to do the right thing? Or the one with the great ambition and the great desire to do something good in the world? I think both. I know for sure that everyone within Rabobank wants to do the right thing, wants to contribute to making the world a little bit better. But does that mean that we don't make any mistakes? Of course not. It's human, as long as we learn from them. And that's because I'm a learning guy. I like that very much. So what culture does Rabobank need? And what activities in our onboarding can help to bring that culture to our new joiners? That's what I'm going to explain, I hope so, for the next 20 minutes. So Cyril asked me, what changed in HR the last years? And one of the answers was that we use more data. So I will use some data to tell something more about Rabobank. Rabobank was established more than 100 years ago, even before I started to work. And we have almost 2 million members already. And although we're big in the Netherlands, we are an international corporation, an international company, serving 9 million customers in about 40 countries. And every day our 43,000 people try to help our clients best, of which 25,000 in the Netherlands. And I'm very glad that more than 85% of them enjoy going to work every day. And it's so that every month we welcome 200 to 400 new joiners. So that has an impact on what we do on onboarding. And those new joiners, their first connection with Rabobank is most of the times rabobank.jobs. And when you look at rabobank.jobs, you might find the following movie.
You make me better, and vice versa. That's our belief. Together, we achieve more. For instance, we want families to be autonomous, entrepreneurs to grow, local communities to flourish, and the global food issue to be addressed. That's right, our business isn't just about money. We want to leave the world better than we found it. That's what we mean by our mission, growing a better world together. To achieve this, we have to stand up and do things differently, smarter, together, and more sustainably. If we want to work on a better world, we have to keep working on a better bank. And that starts with ourselves. That's why we're not just looking for the right resumes, but also the right mindset. We're looking for people with courage and resilience, people aiming to reach their full potential, who understand we're in transition too, who dare to make a difference for themselves, the bank, and the world. Are you prepared to dedicate your talent to this? If so, we can take on this challenge together, and you'll grow into the best, finest, and most meaningful version of yourself. Growing a better world together. Rabobank.
Wow, was that great to see all those ambitions? The ambitions of the bank and the ambitions of all the people. And what I like really much about that video is that all the people you see are colleagues of mine, are Rabobank employees. Lots of people with lots of differences, lots of different backgrounds, different cultures. And they work in different places in the world or different departments. We have people who work directly with our clients, and we have people who work at HR or risk, and we are a very big IT company. And all those different places where people work have their own culture. And I think that's a great thing, because we are strong in the local communities, and every local community has its own culture itself. But at the same time, we are one big organization with one big message and one big mission, growing a better world together. So, on the other hand, it's really important that everyone within Rabobank understands and embraces that message. So, that's one thing. And the other thing is that's really important that our colleagues feel that they belong to that big organization. And therefore, we think it's really vital to give a warm welcome to everyone within Rabobank at the same way, in the same program, no matter where you work or what you do within Rabobank. So how do we do that? Well, we do that by one global virtual onboarding program consisting of 2 ingredients. It's about cooperative culture, so helping people to understand what we stand for. And it's about personal connections. It is about getting to know each other really soon within the bank. Even these days, or especially these days, when we are working from home. Almost everybody's working from home within Rabobank. And the only thing you see is your own laptop. So, I have to show you some other things. Yes. Two ingredients. That must be easy. That's even easier than cooking from an HelloFresh box. So, however, when you look at the first one, cooperative culture, we also see three elements, so it's not that easy. We see the governance and the history of Rabobank to understand where we come from. And we see how Rabobank wants to contribute to growing a better world together. And the third one is related to us as employees. How do we need to behave and what mindset is important within Rabobank? So, this is not my granddad, by the way. This is Wilhelm Friedrich Raiffeisen. And yeah, Rabobank, it's all in a name, stands for Raiffeisen Boerenleenbank, Raiffeisen Farmers Bank. And Raiffeisen was a mayor in Germany in the late 19th century. And there were hard times. And he saw the struggle of the poor farmers in the villages. And what he did is he arranged that the farmers could borrow some money from the people in the village who had saved just a little bit of money. So all he did was to connect those people. And he did something else. He created supervision on that process out of the citizens in the villages. So then the first credit corporation was born. And many more followed, also in the Netherlands. And later on, those credit corporations joined, and so Rabobank started. And the farmers from back then are our members of today. They are our eyes and ears in the local communities, and they can even influence the policy of the bank. And did you know that Rabobank every year gives a part of its profit back to the local communities? And together with our members, we choose the relevant projects. We call it cooperative dividend. And what Raiffeisen stands for is more or less the same as what Rabobank stands for nowadays. It's about helping people to help themselves. It's self-reliance, using great connections and taking responsibility. It's just the topics that have changed. So what topics are we talking about? On what themes does Rabobank want to make a difference in the world? Does Rabobank want to have impact? It's about sustainable food. We are one of the biggest food and agri companies of banks in the world, and we have impact on helping our clients to grow their food and their crops on a more sustainable way. It's also about helping entrepreneurs grow, not just growing bigger, but also getting more sustainable and innovative. And it's about financial well-being for all. It's about helping our clients to make their own financial choices. That's the self-reliance again. And it's about sustainable housing. We are the biggest mortgage bank in the Netherlands, so by that we have impact on where our customers, our clients, can invest in the energy transition of their own houses. Solar panels, for example. So you notice we can have impact through banking. These are not themes we do next to banking, but it's through banking. We see banking and the bank and the cooperative as one. So to make a difference on those topics, it is really important that we collaborate, that we need every single person within the Rabobank. We need the power of the differences. We need to see those complex things from different perspectives. And that's why it's so really important that we pay a lot of attention to diversity and inclusion. And I think that an inclusive culture and a cooperative culture go hand in hand. And we expect that our employees, including myself, work along 4 behaviors. 4 behaviors we selected, and they make our culture, our cooperative culture, more explicit, I think. And to highlight 2, it's about I dare to make a difference in the world. And yeah, we need courageous people for that. And it sounds big, I dare to make a difference for the world. But the world is also your own environment and your own neighborhood. So start there, is what we say to our people. And it's about I make you better. And again, that's my favorite because I'm a learning guy. It's about I make you better, you make me better, so we make each other better. And that's the foundation of a cooperative, I think. So we pay a lot of attention to the roots and those elements and the behaviors in our onboarding program. And there's another thing that's really important, I told you before, and that's the personal connections. Personal connections are really important in a cooperative, in working together, but at the same time it's really important, I think, from a didactical principle, from a didactical perspective. So we bring it into our onboarding program, because we talk a lot in our program about the roots, about the strategy, about the behaviors, and then we give some room to all the participants to reflect individually, and then discuss and deepen it out in the breakouts, in the teams, in small groups. So we pay a lot of attention to connection within our program, and we do that together with Yes We Connect, our partner, because they live connection. So what we do in the program, we start in the breakouts. So people enter the virtual program directly in their breakout rooms. And we think it's necessary that right at the beginning of the program, we start connecting and helping people feeling comfortable, because later on in the program, they have to discuss with each other about topics like the strategy or their contribution or their strengths. So it's really important to create the comfort so that people are comfortable to talk about that topics later on in the program. So what we do is before the sessions, our participants fill out a profile of themselves. It's here. So existing of all personal questions. Questions like, are you a morning person, an early bird, or are you a night owl? Or what did you want to become when you were a kid? And all those questions are filled in, and we select the people, or we create the breakouts along the similarities of those answers. So we have groups of night owls, groups of morning persons, and groups of people who wanted to become a famous sports player when they were a kid. And that creates wonderful personal connections right at the beginning of the session. And the team, we ask the teams to take screenshot of how they portray their connection. So we have a screenshot of early birds with a cup of coffee in their hand, or sports people with a tennis ball and a tennis racket and a skate. And that's also really great. And then we invite them back to the plenary room, and we tell the story of Raiffeisen. And we pay attention to the roots of the Rabobank, and what we do is we ask the participants to reflect on the 4 behaviors and choose the one they feel most connected with. And that's a really important part, because that gives the opportunity to start thinking about connecting your own purpose and your own values to those of the Rabobank. And that helps a lot later on in belonging and in engagement. So, by then it's time, I think, to talk about the strategy in the program. And again, we talk about the strategy, people reflect individually, go to the breakouts, discuss the strategy and what it means to them, and they come back with one question about the strategy to the plenary room, and that question will be answered during the session. And then we get a very important part. You see it in the right down corner. It's the treasure hunt, also figured out together with Yes We Connect. What we do in the treasure hunt is we ask people, what are your strengths? What do you bring to Rabobank? And what do you want to grow in? And how will you contribute to the behaviors or the strategy of Rabobank? And then again, they discuss it, and that's sometimes pretty exciting. They discuss their own strength and their contribution in the breakout groups, in their own teams. And then it's already time to end the session, because we have had all the major topics. And the end of the session is the grand finale, the prize-winning screenshot. So we select the prize-winning screenshot, and the winner gets eternal fame within Rabobank. What I like very much is that our participants really value those sessions. They find them fun, they find them interactive, and they find them personal. Even though they are virtual sessions, they find them interactive and personal, and I'm really proud on that. And they learn a lot about Rabobank, they learn about the culture, they learn about the strategy, and people abroad, they value the warm welcome from the Netherlands. And they value that they learn about the history of the Rabobank. So early this year, we started with the assignment to develop a new onboarding session within the Netherlands, an onboarding day, live. But then COVID-19 came along and we had to change our plans. We had to go virtual. So we developed a virtual session, a virtual onboarding session. And once we had that, the step to roll out globally was suddenly very small. So a small step for us became a giant leap for our new joiners all over the world. And I talked a lot about our global onboarding program with the cooperative culture and with personal connections. But we have some other challenges on onboarding within Rabobank. And one challenge is that it's the pre-boarding. There's sometimes 1 or 2 or 3 months between signing the contract and the first day at Rabobank. And in recent years, we did not pay much attention to that period, to our people during that period. And they do miss that. So what we are experimenting. We are experimenting with a pre-boarding platform, that's one, and a buddy program during those pre-boarding phase. So we connect our buddies to our new joiners before they enter Rabobank, to give them a warm welcome, to ask if there are any questions, to give advice about what to wear at your first day, and also to add the new members to the WhatsApp group of their team, so that the teams can give a warm welcome just before they enter Rabobank. What we also do is, when people arrive at Rabobank the first day, we have lots of information on our intranet. We call it the first 100 days at Rabobank. So you find what you need for the first week, for the second week, for the first month, the second month. And it's about HR topics, it's about risk, it's about strategy, it's about mandatory learning, it's about IT. And what's also on that information is information about the different diversity communities within Rabobank. We have colorful Rabo, Rabo Women, Rainbow, some call us even the Rainbow Bank. But it's really important and it's really helpful to feel at home within Rabobank, to feel the belonging, and it's really helpful in an inclusive culture. So, 25 years ago, I joined Rabobank, but there wasn't a program like I told you about. There wasn't a global onboarding program with roots and strategy and culture. What we had is entering an office. I entered a small office in Nieuwkoop, And it was learning on the job. So I joined my colleague behind the counter, providing cash to our customers, helping out at the back office, all that to understand what's happening within the bank. And if I would have joined Rabobank right now, I think I really would have enjoyed the program we created. And during developing that program, I learned a lot. I learned a lot about myself, but also I learned a lot about Rabobank, things I didn't even know, and I'm pretty proud on that. So, I hope to meet you during the next onboarding session and give you a warm welcome. Because when you look at rabobank.jobs, you find lots of great jobs within Rabobank. So if you look at the nice job for you, I can give you a warm welcome in the next onboarding session within Rabobank. But first of all, I love to meet you at the network session afterwards. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Jan Arnoud, and a big applause again, the second for today for you. Yeah, that was really interesting, and I really liked your presentation. You're a real storyteller.
Thank you.
Yeah, you took me by the hand in your story. That's very good. I have a first follow-up question to your presentation.
Okay.
In the beginning, you showed the engagement score of 85% of Rabobank employees are happy to go to work.
Yep.
Can you explain the relation between your onboarding session and that number?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that the 85% is due to onboarding only. But the people who feel engaged, they say that they know how they can contribute to what Rabobank stands for every day. And people who do not feel engaged, they miss that connection. They don't know why are they working every day for. And I think that's what we do in onboarding. We help people to connect and to understand what Rabobank stands for, and help them to connect what they do within Rabobank to the purpose of the Rabobank.
Yeah. And Hedwig and Arjan, does the way Rabobank transfers its company culture to their new hires sound similar to you, what you do at HelloFresh?
That's a good question. I think I do see a few similarities, definitely. But I do think we do also stuff differently. And what I actually really liked about your onboarding program is the treasure hunt. I think it's very insightful, but also very nice for the new joiners to actually do that and make them known via that way. That's really nice. I really
love it. Thank you. Yeah.
Cool.
So, then it's time for your presentation. Arjan and Hedwig will talk about culture onboarding more through the diversity and inclusion lens. So please take the presenter stage and prepare. And once again, don't hesitate to ask any questions you have in the chat. Hedwig and Arjan would love to answer these questions after the end of the session.
Good morning. Let's start with some facts. Did you know that 90% of our colleagues at HelloFresh are proud and happy to work for us? And that our NPS score has more than doubled from 15% in 2019 to 38% in 2020. In the next 20 minutes, we are going to talk about how we have achieved this and how we are continuously working on culture and onboarding. But first, an introduction to HelloFresh. HelloFresh was founded in 2012 in the Benelux. Back then, we had like a very small office, which was actually in a garage box, which was also our warehouse, delivery hub, and office. Back then, all the employees had also the responsibility to pack the boxes, to pick the boxes, and to deliver them. As you can see here on the screen, Thomas, who's still working for us, was delivering the HelloFresh box, the bags back then, by bakfiets. We also did some groceries at, for example, the Albert Kuipmarkt, and with some local suppliers in Amsterdam, of which some of them grew with us until today. As you can see also on the photo, there were paper HelloFresh bags, and after a few months, the volumes became too high, and then we introduced the HelloFresh box as we know it today. 8 years later, today, we are a fully established company, active in 14 markets, serving 5 million customers globally. In the Benelux office, we do have 460 employees. And one thing I'm very proud of as well is that we have a very flat organizational structure that gives us speed and agility, responsibility and ownerships, which contributes to our DNA. Speaking about our DNA is from the beginning in our core of our company, and I actually would like to challenge you to call a random employee at HelloFresh, I will give you the numbers afterwards, and to ask them what our DNA actually is. I bet they can all tell you what our DNA is, but also how they incorporate it in their daily jobs. Next to that, if you enter our office, and of course after the corona times, we'd love to invite you to our office, you can see our DNA everywhere, for example, in the mirror. The challenge. Our challenge at HelloFresh is how to maintain a strong company culture while being a fast-growing company. From 5 people in a garage box to 460 in the Benelux office, as I just mentioned, and up until 7,000 employees globally, of course, that is a huge change. From the beginning, the personal approach, the family vibe is at our core. However, the challenge is to keep up this personal approach and this family vibe while rapidly extending our teams, of course. In our first interviews during the recruitment process, the first interview is about culture. That's the central topic. Of course, we would like to know the candidate, but culture is the main topic. How is the culture of HelloFresh for the candidate? What do they already know about our culture? But also, do they feel at home as within this culture in maybe their future new job at HelloFresh? But also, does the culture fit with the candidate? We do believe that everybody fits our culture. However, you need to contribute to our culture in order to make it a success and, of course, to keep our culture alive. The second interview mostly is in the office. Usually, when not within the corona times, we do that to show them around and to give them actually a sneak peek on how we are working together. They can feel the family vibe, they can feel the personal approach, and hopefully we can also make them feel at home, because this is the place where they are going to work. As mentioned earlier, family culture is very important to us, and we do believe that it contributes to your and our success. You have a visible impact within HelloFresh on our product and on our brand, and we do it all together, of course. You want to be a part of HelloFresh, and you want to make HelloFresh go to the next level. That gives us all a sense of fulfillment, and therefore our challenge lies in how to maintain a strong culture in a fast and rapid-growing company.
Yes, as Jan already told us, culture is a big part of our success, and we value the personal approach a lot. Very practical, this means that, first of all, we love to celebrate. We love to celebrate the good times, company successes, personal promotions, personal highlights, but we're also there when things aren't going that well. For example, we're there to offer a shoulder, to offer practical help, to get you back on track, or just by sending you a pair of comfy HelloFresh socks to keep your feet warm during cold winter days. On the photo on the top of this slide, you can see our Valentine's Day celebration of last year, where we wrote each other appreciation notes and we shared candy with each other. This is just an example of a small celebration that we do at HelloFresh. Another thing that we value a lot is transparency. Transparency in sharing our results. Basically, every week there's written updates. Every month we have monthly updates. And every quarter we gather together to have a strategy session where we all reflect, look back, and plan ahead on the months to come. The main thing that we do during these sessions is to make sure that everybody's there and everybody feels, again, like, oh, we're HelloFresh, we're working for HelloFresh. And if we want to grow bigger, become better, we have to move forward together. And sessions like that are very important to us. Also, we're a food company. Food is very important to us. We love food, and we want everybody to be involved with the product. So even if you don't directly work with the product, like me in HR, there's plenty of opportunities to be involved. For example, we have unboxing sessions where you gather in the kitchen to unpack a box, review ingredients, take a recipe home, cook it, and write a report about it to share with our product and recipe team. We have every Friday Friday special where we eat out of the box. We do supplier dinners, workshops, and talks, of which you can see an example on the bottom of this slide. Here, actually, our wine supplier came by to teach us everything about wine, make us taste a lot of nice wines, and learn us more about food pairing, which was really interesting and, of course, really tasty as well. And of course, the last photo, you might have wondered already, who is that lady with the flowers in her hand? Well, that's Marjolein. Marjolein is our office manager, and she is the main contributor to the feeling of connectiveness and the family feel. We also say sometimes she basically is the tape that holds our HelloFresh box together. As we already mentioned before, the personal approach is really important for us, and it already starts during the recruitment procedure, and it accelerates during after you sign your contract. Because right after you sign your contract, you receive an invitation for the onboarding day, and you will also receive a welcome package with a lot of nice HelloFresh goodies in it, a handwritten card, brownies, basically a lot of things, a teaser to make you get used to seeing the HelloFresh logo everywhere. Which, by the way, probably also will happen to you after seeing this presentation. I'm sure there will be a HelloFresh van driving by your neighborhood soon, because it always happens. For us, the onboarding is mandatory, and we believe that it's the most important day for everybody at HelloFresh. On the photos on this slide, you can see Paul, Lydie, and Thomas. They are the ones that run the place. They're the ones we go to when we're in trouble, but they're also the ones that deliver boxes if needed, bring flowers to our brand ambassadors, and Paul, he loves to go around the office with bitterballen to keep us all happy on rainy days. They play a crucial role at the onboarding because they're in charge of the HelloFresh crash course. During this crash course, which takes a morning, they teach everybody everything about our values, our product, and the reasons why we do the things that we do. This morning basically turns every employee instantly into a brand ambassador, and that is what we want. Well, actually, it's quite hard to talk culture, and we strongly believe that you have to feel culture. And that is why after the crash course, we move forward into a more interactive program. We finish the morning by a nice HelloFresh lunch in our kitchen, and after that, we do a photo shoot where everybody poses with their favorite fruits and vegetables. We take a family photo, and then we move forward with speed dating sessions where there's a chance to meet and mingle with colleagues, to meet your buddy, and also afterwards we give all the new joiners the assignments to record a welcome video together. And this welcome video for us is also a crucial element because we want everybody in the company to be able to already see the faces and connect names to them, so that if you're not in the office on the onboarding day, and then the day after you see this new person, that you directly know, like, oh, this name and this face, and that, yeah, everybody's known, basically. When you think of food, when you think of family, you probably think of food as well. At least we do, and we happen to make really nice dishes, and we want everybody to experience this. Mostly because food is at the core of what we do. And that is why every onboarding session we finish with a cooking session. We unbox a HelloFresh box, we cook together, we eat together, and we evaluate the day together. Which brings me to the next topic, which is feedback. One of the values of our DNA is data-drivenness. We absolutely love data, and gathering feedback is very important to us. Like I already said, we evaluate the onboarding day at the dinner table, but we also make sure to send out digital forms where everybody can provide their feedback with us. And we check in with every new joiner a couple of weeks after they started to talk about their first weeks, about how things went, about their needs, wishes, desires, things that we can do better to improve their experiences. We think it's really nice to receive all this feedback because it helps us to improve ourselves and to reinvent ourselves if needed. At the moment, we receive a lot of positive feedback, for which we're really happy. And actually, me and my colleagues, we think that we work in a great place. And we thought at the beginning of this year, if we work in such an awesome place, why aren't we Great Place to Work certified? So we made a plan. And on the 1st of January, we told ourselves, by the end of this year, we are going to have this certificate. And we did it. By the end of September, we received our certificate, and I am super proud of this. And I think it's a sign that we're on the right track with our culture. And yeah, it's great. So a very important part of culture, in our opinion, is diversity and inclusion. And that's where Arjan is going to tell you a bit more about.
Inclusion as a part of our culture. The goal is for HelloFresh to create a diverse and inclusive workspace. At the beginning of this year, in 2020, just before the corona crisis hit, we thought we need to actively work on this challenge. So we decided to work together with a third party, which is called Charter Diversity. With this Charter Diversity, we lay down our challenges and what we want to achieve for the upcoming year. How do we do that? We are going to focus this upcoming year on diversifying our talent acquisition pipelines, meaning concretely that we will start offering unconscious and conscious bias training to all our hiring teams, so they are aware of their biases, but also it helps them to select the best talent for their teams. Next to that, we are also focusing on inclusion onboarding. We do know that it is very important. However, we still have some steps to make in that regard. We are looking into incorporate it in our onboarding, and we have some examples. Next to that, we also started recently an employee resource group, which is short for ERG. Mainly focusing on LGBTQIA+ people, queer people also within the company. This is basically a fun group where we discuss also serious things. It needs to be a safe haven for people where they can express their concerns, but also where they can talk and chat with like-minded people. Next to that, we also organize a lot of events, virtual or real life. As you can see on the slide here on the left side, we hosted a virtual drag quiz last Pride because obviously it was not possible to do a real one. So we invited a famous drag queen from Amsterdam in our Zoom meeting together with a lot of colleagues, and we did a pop quiz for an hour, which was really fun and a nice way to celebrate Pride. But 2 years ago, we had also a Pride celebration in our office, in our kitchen, as you can see on the right side of the slide, which was very fun. A lot of colleagues joined. We made T-shirts together that we are proud and that we are happy that we are able to be ourselves within our company, within HelloFresh. And of course, last March, we also celebrated International Women's Day, because it's still important to stand still by the inequality women still experience in the workplace. Diversity and inclusion is a work in progress, and it will forever be a work in progress and a joint effort. So we need to do that together, especially in virtual times. It's kind of hard. And that brings me to the next slide. What challenges do we face while onboarding virtually? I think the challenge we currently face at HelloFresh is how do we transfer our culture in a virtual, remote way? We still put some things together, and for example, as Hedwig mentioned already earlier, we still have the crash course with Powell, Lidie and Thomas, where they tell more about the mission and the vision of HelloFresh, and they also show what their teams are doing. Next to that, just like Rabobank, we also have breakout sessions. We made pre-made food-themed questions, where we asked the new joiners to go in smaller groups and answer those questions to get to know each other a little bit better. And of course, a buddy system is also very important, where we link a new colleague to an already existing colleague so they can get to know new colleagues outside of their own team and have a virtual coffee, and also to discuss some practical stuff, because you get, of course, a lot of information while you start at a new company. And from the people team, I think there lies also a very big responsibility to stay in touch with the new joiners. For example, what we do is we call them before their onboarding, before their first day, to ask if they have any questions, if everything is clear, and obviously if they are looking forward to their first day. During and after the onboarding, we do the same. We stay in close contact. We plan virtual coffees as much as possible to ask them about their onboarding experiences, but also how they look back on the recruitment process. And last but not least, Hedwig mentioned it already a little bit, but we do love our personalized gift from HelloFresh. We have HelloFresh socks. We got some plants to make our home office very nice. And also we got a nice breakfast box to make working from home a little bit better. In times like these, we need more contact and conversation with other people while working remotely. That is also where our challenge lies. How can we include, how can we reach, can we connect with people in a time where we work from home and make them feel included in the company? We are looking forward actually to the brainstorm session afterwards to share our ideas, but also to hear your ideas, to talk about it and how can we improve all our onboardings at our companies. Now, back to the table.
A big applause to you two.
Thank you.
You did very well. Yeah, it looks like so much fun to work at HelloFresh.
Oh, it is.
It is.
Yeah, I feel like almost applying for a job myself.
Oh, we
Oh,
do
you
have
can.
some.
Yeah, yeah. Don't you need a presentation coach?
Would be great.
Yeah. Okay, I have a first follow-up question to your presentation. What was the last thing you tried in connecting with each other online, and how did that go?
Actually, last week we introduced a new thing in the office. It's a 15-minute HIIT workout with our personal coach online, where we start before the workday as a small warm-up and energizer for the day.
Okay, that's nice. And Jan Anna, did you hear something from HelloFresh that you want to implement to Rabobank?
Whoa, yeah. First of all, it was really inspiring, and compliments for your presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Really good. And a lot of things I like. The way you connect what you do for your customers to what you do with your own employees. So cooking out of the box, for example. Yeah. I really love it. And I think what we can learn in a bigger company as Rabobank from you is that we try to think small again. Because we have a very big corporate onboarding program, but people come afterwards on departments in local banks, on regions and countries, and we can think small again to make it even more personal when they enter their own team or their own department.
Yeah.
So that's what we learn from you. A lot of inspiring examples. Thank you.
Nice.
Nice,
You're welcome.
thank you.
Happy to share.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what it's all about this weekend, learning from each
Yeah.
other. Now, that's great. We're now going to finalize this discussion and have some more questions from the audience that were asked during today's session. But first, we go to discuss the end results of today's poll. I put my glasses on, because otherwise I cannot read them. So let me see, and the question of today is, do you think diversity and inclusion should be part of the onboarding of the new hires? 37% said yes, and we have that covered. 54% says yes, but we don't have that covered yet, between brackets. 2% says no, however I do that it is important. And 5% says no, that's not an issue in our organization. Somebody feel free to respond to this?
Well, I'm happy that the big majority actually agrees that it should be a part of the onboarding. Makes me happy, and I think it should be a part of the onboarding. Like it's all about feeling included in a company, and then diversity and inclusion should be a part of that. So that makes me happy.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. And at the same time, we see some struggle. How do you do that? Because almost half of the companies, they say yes, but we didn't do it yet.
Yeah.
I think it's also the question, how do we do that? And well, perhaps you gave some really nice examples how to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's go to the questions from the audience. And I got a few in. Let me see, Jan Arnoud. What is the importance of diversity and inclusion to Rabobank?
Well, I talked about it just a little bit. It's really important because it's really important that everybody feels that they belong to Rabobank. It's feel included, feel that you can be yourself, that you can say what you want within Rabobank, in your own team, and with your own colleagues. And like I said before, if you do not feel included, if you cannot be yourself, you spend a lot of energy in not being yourself and trying to adjust or whatever. And another thing is that the things we have to deal with within Rabobank are more and more and more complex. So we need all the different perspectives of all the different people within Rabobank. We call it the power of the differences. And I think that's perhaps even more important.
Yeah. And how do you give room to diversity and inclusion in your onboarding programs?
Yeah, that's a hard question. Because my first reaction to that is we don't. And my second reaction to that is we do. But we do not use the words inclusion or use the words we do not refer to religion or color or gender or whatever. But we spend a lot of energy and we pay a lot of attention in the values of everyone within the onboarding session. And starting with your own values and appreciating them and valuing them and connecting them to what Rabobank stands for, I think that is inclusion.
Yeah, that is inclusion.
So it's implicit, but it is inclusion.
Okay, a question for let me see, for Hedwig, Artjan and Jan Arnoud, for all three of you. And this question comes from Mitchell. How long before the start do you start with pre-boarding? How long before the start do you start with pre-boarding?
Well, at HelloFresh, often people get hired quite early before the start date. Like Jan Arnoud said, it's a couple of months. For us, it's a couple of weeks, a month maximum, most of the time. So we start directly after signing the contract with sending out the invitation and the welcome package. So it's mainly directly after signing your contract that we started.
Okay, and how's that at Rabobank?
Like I told you, that's one of our challenges. So we are experimenting with the platform and the buddy system a few weeks before they enter Rabobank.
And why did you decide to start the buddy system already before the first working day?
Because we have a buddy system as from the first working day, and we see that it helps. That there and it's a buddy from their own team. And we are looking for ways to get connected strongly before the first working day. And we find out in our experiment that that buddy can be of lots of value to connect to Rabobank. Because it's more personal than a platform or whatever. And the one-on-one contact to the new joiner and the buddy is really valued.
And how does that look like? So do you plan some meetings, and how do you make sure the buddy from Rabobank who's already working there does actually do that?
That's what we are experimenting with. But we do have a sort of roadmap. So it starts with the manager of the buddy. So would you please be the buddy of the new joiner and contact him this week and contact him next week and ask him if there are any questions. Please invite them on LinkedIn or what I told you. Make sure that it's added to the WhatsApp group of the team. So it's a few steps we put in a sort of roadmap. But I'm not going to sit next to the buddy
No.
to see whether he does it or not.
No, I
Yeah.
understand. Yeah.
Let's go to a question of the audience. It's also for all of you, so please feel free to respond to it. How do you test the culture fit in the recruitment process to make sure it's a good fit for both parties? This question comes from Emily.
What's the start? Do you want to start?
I hoped you would.
Oh,
I think we can start.
No, it's a bit difficult for me because I do a lot in onboarding programs,
Okay.
but not so many in the recruitment process.
okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
Well, first of all, I think it is a very good question because it's kind of hard to actually test if people fit with the culture. As mentioned before, we do believe that everybody fits our culture, but we want them to participate as well. But it's mainly asking questions around culture. What do you think of the culture at HelloFresh? What is your view on culture at HelloFresh? And why did you, for example, apply at HelloFresh? What do you give me a description of how the culture looks like regarding you? So I think for me personally, it is through asking questions if one is, well, potentially a fit with the culture or not.
And I would like to add that also a question we always ask is, what do you expect of us as an employer?
yeah.
And it really, people have to, tell you what they want, and then you can have a really nice conversation about whether it's, compliant, whether it fits.
Yeah. For Jan Arnoud, what is your top tip, or what is your top tip to create connections during a virtual induction program? From Clarissa.
Well, it's different than when you can look each other into the eyes.
Yeah.
So you have to script it a little bit more. But once you script, you can do a lot of things. So that's the tip. Do script. And what helps is the questions we sent before. So they fill in a profile, and then you have topics to talk about in your subgroups, and that helps. You do the same with your food questions.
Yeah.
So you have to help the people to have to talk something about to connect with.
Yeah.
I think that's a tip. Yeah.
Ja. Kijk hoor. Again for Jan Arnoud, how does Rabobank implement the onboarding process locally? Furthermore, how does the employee journey for expats is embedded in the onboarding process? From Reinier.
Locally, we give some roadmaps, some advice, but we have so many localies that well, it's up to the manager and the team to do the onboarding. So we give some guidance, we give some advice, but we can't be the director of that. And the expats, well, they can join the global onboarding program I just talked about. And what they do more, just for the expats, we have an expat desk and an expat team to help them. But it's a little bit further away from what I do.
Yeah, okay. And for Hedwig and Arjan, how do you transport this personal on-site onboarding experience into a remote experience? Question from Tim.
Yeah, Tim. That is indeed a struggle. Well, as I think, which I already a bit explained in my last slide, we try to set up a virtual onboarding morning, that's how we call it, where we still incorporated the personal approach, such as inviting Paul, Lidie, and Thomas to the session so they can get to know them, so they can tell a little bit more about HelloFresh. And basically we made a summary of our actual onboarding program, and we translated that to a virtual part. So we did the breakout sessions. Usually we do speed dating, as Hedwig already mentioned. Unfortunately, the cooking from the HelloFresh box is not possible. However, of course, as mentioned in the beginning, they get a free first box, no free subscription. So they can actually cook in the first week in their home office. So it is a way of virtually onboarding people like that, but we are also curious, and that's why we're also here, is to hear from other companies, how do you do that, and how can we share insights on that?
Yeah. And I have another question for you both. Do you have a question for Great Place to Work related onboarding culture or inclusion? Because they're all speaking tomorrow.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah. They're here tomorrow, so...
Yeah.
We have a question for them.
I need to think about this one.
Okay,
Say-
come back to you.
Yeah.
Let's have another question for... Let me see. Oh, what did I do? Okay, something went almost wrong, but I got back to it. For all is this question. What's the most important feedback moment in your pre-boarding and onboarding experience? Question from Roos.
The most important feedback moment. It's well, we did experiment with a live session, and we got lots of feedback. And the most important thing we learned is that you have to connect to the right time. You have to do the onboarding at the right time. At the start, we had some catching up to do, so it took 2-3 months before they got the onboarding program, and that's too late.
Yeah.
So you have to be in. It doesn't have to be at the first day, but at least it has to be in the first week or the second week. And that's an important lesson we learned.
Yeah.
And it came from feedback from the participants. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
For us, I think if we talk about the virtual onboarding, it was interaction. People at the beginning really craved more interaction, more connection with other people. And I think that was the most important feedback for us. And the thing that we did the most with and we can still improve on. Yeah.
Also a question for all of you. What about the inclusion of elderly people and people with a distance to the working environment? Question from Wietske.
We pay a lot of attention to people with a distance to the working environment. I would not say that elderly people have that distance, because I'm 50 already. No, but we have to work with targets. And so we have targets to for a number of new joiners with a distance to the working environment. And what we also did, because our office is closed, so it's really pity. But we have a really great coffee corner within head office of Rabobank, and the people who serve the coffee they can't hear. And what's really great is that lots of colleagues are trying to learn sign language to order coffee.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really great, but it's a pity that the coffee corner is closed now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And for you guys?
I think, first of all, I think it's a good question. As mentioned, since the beginning of this year, we started actively working on this. And this is elderly people and people distant from the workspace is also included in our challenge for the upcoming year. But I would say it is a work in progress and steps need to be made. Yeah.
Okay. For Hedwig and Arjan, isn't diversity growing when you make special groups only for like-minded people?
I'm not so sure it is the case about growing diversity. It's more about creating a safe space for minority employees in the company. I think it is important to create that safe space in order to be yourself. And of course, we can, at HelloFresh, I'm very happy to say that we can be ourselves, but it's also a nice and a safe feeling to be with like-minded people who think the same, who are the same.
Okay.
Other people.
Also talk about challenges. I
Yeah.
think, yeah, it's very...
I'm sorry, but we almost have to wrap up, I can see. So there's still... I want to come back to the question that you had to think about.
Yeah.
You have a question for a great place to work for tomorrow.
Yeah, so it was about, do you have a question for Great Place to Work in terms of inclusion, right?
Inclusion, of onboarding culture or inclusion.
Yeah.
You didn't think about it in the meantime.
Well, yeah, I did. Well,
You
but
asked a lot of questions, so they couldn't.
Yeah, that's true, that's true.
Well, what I would like to know is, because we are now a Great Place to Work certified, which we are very proud of, is also how can they assist and support us in even becoming a better great place to work in terms of onboarding, in terms of inclusion, and do they offer that support? I'm curious about that.
Okay. Now, this was the last question, and there is so much more to talk about and questions to be answered, but it's not over yet. In 5 minutes, you are able to join in our networking sessions with our speakers and fellow attendees. So you will receive an invite link in your email in any second. Now, I want to thank you all for being here this morning. Jan Arnoud from Rabobank, Hedwig and Arjan from HelloFresh. So go ahead and meet them in the networking sessions after this. And tomorrow, on the last day of Onboard Week, it's already the last day tomorrow, but you can tune in to learn more about reboarding and remote onboarding with Van Gogh Museum and with Great Place to Work. So don't forget to sign up if you haven't done so yet. Thank you for watching us this morning, and we'll see you tomorrow at 10. Bye.